With the dawn came the sun, and with the sun came the sounds of cannon fire. However, it seemed as though the attack planned by the Fury Curves turned out to be successful. The Shinsengumi were able to attack an enemy encampment, and although many of our men were injured, we were able to do them some damage. Nagakura attempted to rile his men into action.
おいおい、何しけた面してるんだ。敵の陣地はもうすぐだぜ。今度こそ突破してやるから、俺の背中についてこい。
His attempts to cheer the men roused their spirits a bit, and he charged to the front of the line. When afternoon had passed, one of the enemy cannons was pointed at our headquarters, with one of the cannonballs smashing right into it. Cannons pounded the Fushimi magistrate's office, and the ground shook with each impact. I was treating injured warriors in our infirmary, and all of the captains gathered in the next room.
一時は敵の銃も大砲も鳴りを潜めていやがったんだが、あっという間に撃ってきやがったぜ。土方さん、もう無理だ。このままじゃこの奉行所が的になるだけだぜ。
夜の羅刹隊の攻撃により敵陣の銃や砲台は切り崩したと聞いていたのですが、どうやら後方からの補充が昼頃には終わった模様です。今は敵陣へたどり着くことすら困難な状況です。
それじゃあ今攻撃している新八は。
Ishikata bit his lip to the point that his face went pale and he stood quietly. The sound of cannon fire continued to echo in the background. Everyone expected Nagakura not to return. Then out of nowhere...
よう、何しけた顔してやがるんだ。今戻ったぜ。
新八。
Everyone was bewildered to see Nagakura.
心配したぜ。敵の攻撃がすげえことになってるって聞いてな。
ああ、とんでもねえことになってやがる。
Nagakura was covered in dust, dirt, and blood. Then he wiped his face with the back of his hand.
これ以上敵本陣に飛び込むのはどうやっても無理だな。まあ全滅覚悟って言うんなら飛び込んでみせるけどよ。
副長、この先に進むのはかなり困難かと。ご決断をお願いします。
His brow furrowed and he scowled furiously.
おい、なんだこりゃ。どこかから煙が流れてきてやがるぞ。
大砲の火が奉行所に燃え移ったか。さっさと逃げねえとやばいぜ。土方さん、撤退だ。
Even Nagakura's pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears.
トシさん。
Until this moment, the Shinsengumi had never known defeat in battle, but they were helpless against the firearms of the Sacho. The Shinsengumi was Hijikata-san's life. Defeat was hard to accept. After what seemed like an eternity, he let out a long, ragged sigh.
なるほど。もう刀や槍の時代じゃねえってことだな。
His knuckles turned white. There were several more minutes of tense, breathless silence before he finally looked up, his eyes burning with fury.
ここは撤退だ。だがまだ負けたわけじゃねえ。この借りは必ず返してやるからな。
Fury wasn't the only thing in those eyes. Behind him, I could see a bitter, desperate agony. Afterwards, it was decided we would leave for Yodo Castle, who were our allies, and we were leaving the magistrate as it was catching fire.
敵襲だ。
くそ、どこのドイツが来やがった。
It seemed like we were caught as we were leaving the magistrate. The Sacho troops must have realized we were vulnerable, and they seized the opportunity to take over the magistrate.
あのいでたち、薩摩藩だぜ。
奴らは俺たちが食い止める。雪村は先に出ろ。源さん、彼女を頼む。
But they're still wounded I need to tend to. Besides, Sanan and Hesuke, the Furies are still inside there. Inoue yanked my hand in his direction when I tried to pull towards the magistrate.
彼らならきっと大丈夫だ。今は彼らを信じて先に行こう。ほら、ついておいで。
I was so concerned about the wounded soldiers and the triage, but I needed to keep my faith in Sanan-san. Guilt watched over me as I ran away with Inoue pulling my arm.
雪村君、こっちだ。早く早く。こっちに行けば。あっ。
After we had been frantically sprinting down Fushimi's main road, Inoue stopped suddenly. My feet skidded as I came to a sudden halt as well, and warriors in enemy uniforms appeared.
その大服は新選組だな。ここから逃がすわけにはいかん。
雪村君、ここは私が引き受ける。あんたはここから一人で逃げるんだ。
Inoue released my hand and he reached for his sword on his waist. What? I couldn't do that. I'll fight beside you.
バカなことを言うんじゃない。私はね、あんたのことを頼まれたんだよ。だから、ここは私に任せるんだ。
What?
ほら、そっちの脇道へ入りなさい。淀城を目指して走るんだ。
Inoue pushed me into the alley. He unsheathed his sword in one majestic movement, and he charged towards the enemy.
私は新選組6番組組長井上源三郎。お相手いたす。
As Inoue went towards the troop, they calmly drew out their guns and got in a line.
銃、構え。撃て。
The row of rifles fired at once, their bullets ripping through Inoue before he fell to the ground. Inoue! Inoue! I yearned to jump out to him, but someone grabbed my hand from behind and stopped me. Who is this? Let go of me!
出て行ってはいけません。あの方のご意志を無にするのですか？
As my anger grew from this mysterious interruption, I turned around. You're... Kaoru?
さあ、こちらに。今なら裏道を通って逃げられるはずです。
I was still in shock, but she grabbed my hand and led me as we walked down. Wait, Inoue is...
もう手遅れです。
Her cold words pierced through me like a dagger. In the moment, I was forced to accept Inoue's death. After all, I saw it happen right before my eyes. Inoue was so kind and he tried to let me escape. Just a few moments ago, he was pulling my hand. And that's when I snapped out of it. The person who's pulling my hand now is Kaoru. Why are you helping me right now? As she walked in front of me, I tried calling out to her for an explanation. Then she turned.
戦から逃げ遅れてどうしようかと思っていたのですが、ちょうど奉行所から逃げ出してくるあなたを見かけたんです。初めてお目にかかった時から他人のような気がしませんでした。よく似ていると言われたからでしょうか。これも何かの縁でしょう。今は私を信じてください。それに先ほどの方はあなたの無事を祈っていたはずです。
Her words filled me with a little bit of courage. Inoue had sacrificed himself so I could escape. So I have to honor his wishes. I tightly gripped Kaoru's hand and I nodded. I want to go to Yodo Castle. Do you think you can show me the way? Kaoru nodded firmly, and we ran together, gripping each other's hand into the darkness. I wasn't sure how we'd found the strength to run.
こちらです。さ、急いで。
There were several close encounters with the enemy, but I grabbed a hold of Kaoru's hand and we ran.
ここで敵をやり過ごしましょう。声を立てないでください。
As she led me through a heavily wooded forest, we'd encountered a shrine. I stopped to glance around, looking at the incense resting on the staircase, to confirm what I'd seen. Where are we? I thought we were heading for the Yodo Castle.
ヨド城？何のことですか？
Didn't I tell you I wanted to go to Yodo Castle? Back then, she nodded firmly. I appreciated her help, but I couldn't think of why she'd bring me here. I watched her with a suspicious eye, and she grinned as if to play it off as a misunderstanding.
そんなことよりも、ここにはあなたのことを待っている人がいますよ。
え？
私は頼まれて連れてきただけです。
Out of the shadows emerged the figure of a man from the shrine's entrance.
ああ、久しぶりだね。綺麗になったな。
In front of me stood my father, for whom I had spent 4 years searching. Father? Is that really you?
ああ、本当に私だよ。長い間連絡もできずにすまなかったね。
No, now that I've seen you, I'm just glad to see you're safe. But what are you doing here? Where were you all this time? Father's expression became glum. His eyes tenderly gazed into mine.
長い間頼りも出せずにすまなかった。実は遠く離れたところに囚われていてね。
Taken captive? The horrible image of someone taking my father as prisoner made me flinch. But father continued on, describing his journey without going into great detail.
私はお前を探しに来たのだよ。
Oh boy. He came looking for us. I need some water. Num num. Nom to water. Ugh.
もしお前が今回の戦に巻き込まれて命を落としてしまったらと、それだけが気がかりでね。
Father.
それでお前を知っているという南雲君に協力してもらったんだ。
Now I finally understood why Kaoru revealed nothing to me. I see. Kaoru, I wish you told me this in the beginning.
ついあなたが驚く顔が見たくて。ごめんなさいね。
Please don't be. Thank you for letting me see my father. I thank Kaoru sincerely from the bottom of my heart before turning to face father. Now father, let's go to Yodo Castle. The Shinsengumi has men there, and I'm sure they will keep us safe from the Sacho troops. In response, however, my father shook his head slowly.
残念だが、淀城には行かないのだよ。私も、お前もね。
Father? Weren't you out west because you were held captive by the Sacho? And now you're here because you've escaped from them, right? Then why don't we go to the Shinsengumi?
西国にいたというのは本当だ。だが、逃げてきたというのはちょっと違うな。私はね、お前を迎えに来る機会をずっと待っていたんだ。
What do you mean? Are you saying you've known I was in Kyo this whole time?
お前が新選組の屯所なんかに住むから連絡も難しくなってね。あそこから連れ出そうと思っても彼らが見張っているからできなかったんだ。そして今回の戦騒ぎ、お前が新選組から出てくるのをずっと待っていたんだ。
Then why didn't you contact me sooner? You knew I was looking for you.
本当にすまなかった。それはね、私たちのことを彼らに知られないためだったんだ。
What are you talking about? Are you talking about the serum?
おお、どうやら新選組から知らされていたようだね。
I know everything, Father. I know about your experiments with the water of life and the theories on the Shinsengumi. Wait, something felt off. Since everyone had already known about it in the Shinsengumi, it wasn't like he was even trying to keep it secret. So, what was it then? What other secrets could he be hiding?
お前は風間様とも会ったそうだね。
How did he know who Kazuma was?
あの方から随分と叱られてしまったよ。お前が鬼の一族であることをなぜ知らせていないんだと。
Father, what did you just say?
お前が鬼の一族、鬼だということだよ。許しておくれ。すべての準備が整うまでお前には秘密にしておくつもりだったんだ。今お前がどれほど混乱しているかわかるつもりだ。ほら、こんなことが新選組に知られたら大変なことになるだろう。だから秘密にしておいたんだよ。詳しいことはおいおい話して聞かせよう。さあ、一緒に行こう。これからは父さんがずっと一緒だからね。
Father reached his hand for mine, but I could only stare at it. I just couldn't bring myself to grab it. My gut just wouldn't quit. Something felt off. Was this man really my father? I couldn't place exactly what seemed wrong to me, and I sort of froze in place, unable to move. Then I forced myself to step backwards, and then a tingle crept down my neck, my back. I rushed to turn around when I saw him.
なるほど。そういうわけでしたか。
Sanan-san? Behind me stood Sanan-san. Although the day was coming to an end, the sun was still out, and Sanan-san smiled at me faintly before turning to speak with my father.
もう、君は三男君か。久しぶりだ。
本当にお久しぶりです。ですが、親子の再会に水を差すつもりはなかったんですよ。
いやいや、こんな時だからね。仕方がなかったのだろう。ところで、まだ夕方だというのに、外に出てきて大丈夫なのかね。羅刹の身には辛いだろ
う。ご心配には及びませんよ。これでも多少は改良されていますから。
The subtle tension in their conversation grew as their forced politeness gave way to smarminess. They were observing one another. Carefully, I inched myself towards Sanan-san. Sanan-san, why did you come here?
夜な夜なネズミが伏見奉行所を嗅ぎ回っていたのでね、ずっと見張っていたのです。そして ネズミの逃げ込む先を突き止めようとして返り血をたくさん浴びるような目にも遭いました。
The night sun will recall the sight of Sanan being drenched in blood and gore. So, all the blood on your clothing.
まあ君を守るためとでも言っておきましょうか。行動さんもそこの彼も本当に雪村君を狙っていたのですね。
Finally, I realized why I was struck with a feeling of unease as my father was speaking. Father, so all this time, you knew about me and you just watched? Wait, you said Kaoru is a boy? You said boy, but Kaoru is a girl. I looked at Sanan, thinking he'd made some mistake.
あなたは本当に騙されやすい。そういうところが良いところではありますが。
He smiled without condescension. I don't know. So, wait, she's a boy? I rushed to look at Kaoru, and she, or should I say he, smiled maliciously towards me.
男の人なんて他人行儀はよしてほしいな。俺も行動おじさんと同じでお前を迎えに来たんだから。だって俺はお前と血を分けた双子の兄なんだよ。
In a flash, Kaoru's appearance just shifted to that of a man's.
顔が似てると言われた時何も感じなかったのかい。俺は会えなかった十何年もの空白がその一言で埋まるほど嬉しかったのに。
True, our face and physical attributes resembled one another, but I still couldn't believe it. Wait, how do I know this is for real? Father?
本当のことなんだよ。お前に預けてある子立ち小通連を見せてごらん。それこそ鬼の一族である雪村家の、それも本家の血を引く者の証。
そしてこれが俺の持つ大通連。よく見てみろ。お前の持つ小通連と対になっているのがわかるだろう。この2本の刀は雪村本家に代々伝わってきた。これを持つ俺こそが雪村家の一人。そしてお前の兄なんだ。そんな俺をネズミ呼ばわりなんて三男さもひどいよね。どっちかというと兄と妹の対面を邪魔しているお前の方こそネズミ以下の存在だと思うけど。ああ、ネズミ以下じゃなくてまがいものの羅刹だったか。
Kaoru attempted to provoke Sanan with his vicious words, but Sanan was prepared.
あなたは雪村君に顔が似ていますから彼女の血族かとは思っていましたが兄とは気づきませんでした。ネズミと評されたことで腹を立て私を羅刹と蔑んで気を晴らしたいのですか。残念ですが私にとって羅刹とは蔑みになりません。むしろ誇らしく思っていますから。
痩せ我慢ほどほどにしろよ。
That's right. When it came to snide remarks, no one was more skilled in this than Sanan. And that's something he wears proudly on its face. And it seemed the more Kaoru grew agitated, the more calm Sanan became. With gold eyes, he glared at my father.
それよりもせっかくの再会ですから 行動さんに聞きたいことがあります。
何だろうか。
5年前、何もかも放り出して新選組から姿を消したのはなぜですか？
Father stroked his chin for a second, offering his answer at his own pace.
理由だけなら簡単だ。新選組での基礎実験が終了し、もっと大きな実験をするためだよ。西国で資金を出してくれる人がいてね、そちらを頼ったというわけだ。
つまり私たちの実験結果が売られたと。
所詮幕府も老子組のことは羅刹の実験ぐらいにしか思っていなかったということだ。
The indifference in my father's voice was unbelievably frustrating. He showed no remorse. What? That cannot be excused. How could you ever think that was okay?
良いも悪いも吐いて捨てるだけの浪人だ。実験に使われる方が世の役に立った。
Father, I can never come to forgive you. Father acknowledged the rage in my voice, but instead of talking to me, he continued with Sanan-san.
三男君もやはり私が許せないかね。
私の気持ちは彼女が全て代弁してくれました。
His support gave me so much confidence, knowing that for the first time he'd agree with me. This seemed to have taken Father aback by surprise, but he grinned nonetheless.
ただで許してくれとは言わない。三男君、羅刹の症状を治せると言ったらどうするかね。
とても魅力的な話ですが、その代償は何ですか？
君は話が早くて助かる。娘をこちらに渡してもらおう。
Father spoke with no expression on his face, and Sanan-san closed his eyes, sighing.
新選組の局中ハットの一つに勝手に訴訟を取り扱うことかなわずとあります。総長の私が自らハットを破るわけにはいきませんね。
それは交渉決裂と受け取ってもいいのかね。
The tone of Father's voice dropped. Then right after,
甘いんだよ、おじさんも三男も。